Hi, very good afternoon. Sabhi ko namaskar from 18th World Education Summit on the second day, 4th of March. And I welcome all my audience and all the speakers of this panelist. And here we are going to discuss on the industry academia bridge channelizing the collaborative models. One of the interesting topic of this higher education summit. And I would like to welcome all our esteemed panelists from the Pan India and one of the key stakeholders of the higher education and the top minds driving the futures and the prospects of this higher education. So I would like to welcome Professor Rajat Moona, Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Bhilai. Welcome, Rajat sir. Welcome to World Education. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining, sir. I would like to welcome Professor R.V. Kumar, Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar. Welcome, Rajat sir. Welcome to the World Education Summit.
Good afternoon and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome Professor Lalit Kumar Awasthi, Director, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. Welcome, Lalit sir. Welcome to our. And I would like to welcome Mr. Siddhart Chaturvedi, Executive Vice President, AISECT Group of Universities from Bhopal. Welcome, Siddhart sir. Thank you for giving your precious time to the World Education Summit.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you so much.
And I would like to welcome our speaker and the moderator of this session, Professor Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Vice-Chancellor, World University of Design, Sonipat. Welcome, Sanjay sir, and thank you for accepting our request for being a moderator of this session. And by this, I hand over this session to Dr. Sanjay Gupta, sir. Over to you, sir, and we are seeking a wonderful deliberation from all the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. A very good afternoon to you all. I think we are on to a very interesting talk with all the top luminaries from around the country today. The topic is very interesting, industry academia bridge and channelizing the collaborative models. I think if you look at the industry itself, this decade, coming decade, we anticipate that the character of the industry would change in a major way with all these new streams of technology, a new cluster of technologies coming in from artificial intelligence and machine learning and big data and 3D printing and the new alternate sources of energies and everything which is coming in is going to change a lot, the way the industry used to functions and maybe the industries in themselves. Each institution which we have here, even the institutions, if you see, they are also looking at this changing character of the industry in their own ways. We have institutions like the IITs and who, if you look at the other IITs, they sort of think that somewhere their students are not, their undergraduate students are not fitting into the roles which the industry has perceived for them. And so I think they have moved more towards incubation and startups culture in the institutions. So we have institutions at that edge of the spectrum. And then we have institutions which cater to mainstream manufacturing and industries where the students are actually going and working in the industry. And we have institutions at the last fag end of where perhaps there may not be any connection with the industry. So these institutions are also changing. The industry is getting segregated. Many industries are phasing out, new are coming in. We have various, if you look at the institutions, we have incubators and startups coming in. We have research parks coming in. We have the service sector, which is becoming very big. And if you look at most of the startups, I think many of the students are finding their way into the service sector industry. We have government who has also come out with various schemes and policies which are going to support innovation and entrepreneurship into the academia. Maybe the support, maybe the financial support comes only to government institutions, not to private. So today on the panel, we have two IIT represented by Professor Rajat from IIT Bhilai and Professor Kumar from IIT Bhubaneswar. We have one NIT Jalandhar, Professor Awasthi from there, and we have two private universities, Professor Chaturvedi, VP AISECT from Bhopal, and myself from VC World University of Design from Sonipat. So let us, there's a segregation here. So let us first talk to maybe the IITs and see how they perceive, the industry interaction and the collaborative nature, and how are they. So maybe 5-7 minutes each, Professor. So I'll start with Professor Moona. Can you?
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Gupta. I think let me first of all thank Elets for organizing such a wonderful topic panel today, and it is actually a very important thing since we are in the path of migration from Industry 3.0 to Industry 4.0, and Industry 4.0, which is all about use of most modern technologies like Internet of Things, like AI, machine learning, and such kind of things for improving production, reducing energy, and such kind of things. There are various things that I think I can talk about, but at IIT Bhilai, I would like to focus what we are doing. IIT Bhilai is a very, very young institute, is probably the youngest of all IITs, and at this place, we are looking at industry and entrepreneurship, two things in a very, very important avenues for increasing our interactions. All our students actually go through a training on entrepreneurship, and that is the seriousness that we have actually given for entrepreneurship. In fact, even in just two batches, rather one batch which has passed and the second batch which is about to pass now in this July, we have had three companies opened up by three startup companies opened up. So now that's a very big, remarkable achievement that we have been able to do. Now, looking at that, I'm really a person coming from technology, and therefore I should be actually talking of technology interactions between industry and academia. If you look at the industry, I would actually give a very, very simplified view. Of course, I know that the view is much more complex. The industry requires an idea and a business model around that idea. Especially in the technology setup, idea can possibly come in variety of different ways, and even the business model can come in variety of different ways. However, both of these things, idea and business proposition, they have actually gone through major changes in the last few decades. And I can recall my own days when I graduated from a university or from IIT Kanpur to now. There have been quite a lot of changes in last 40 odd years, where multiple different technologies have come in, and those who have not kept abreast with the technologies have actually will find that they are left behind quite a far. Today we are talking of energy. How do we harvest energy? How do we produce energy? How do we conserve energy and such kind of things? These are primary big issues. We are looking at water, how to provide pure water, how do we manage water, and how to circulate water so that water is not wasted. In fact, is largely believe that maybe the next world war, if ever it comes, it would be because of these two parameters, energy and water. And these are now cross-country or cross-international issues. The third thing that we are looking at is automation, whether it is Internet of Things, whether it is AI, robotics, and all these things are actually in a big way coming in to improve the production in the industry. And it's a demand for manufacturing, it's a demand for health and all that kind of thing. For example, if some dangerous substance is to be handled, or for example, in current times, if COVID virus is to be tested for, potentially robotics actually comes in a very big way in keeping our environment safe in this particular aspect. So health is one major aspect where such kind of newer technologies can come in. Manufacturing, 3D modeling, you talked about AI, we talked about pollution, batteries. I mean, take anything, energy, water, these are the primary things. Of everything else, there is a huge innovation which is needed. Unfortunately, in all these things, industry is not able to take lead, especially the Indian industry is not able to take lead in the world because the ideas are not originating. The ideation part is actually reducing, and it requires a huge amount of collaboration between industry and academia. In IITs, have been fortunate enough, and we have been actually doing quite a lot of interaction with industry, and huge amount of our manpower and faculty and industry, we actually get into the training. But then what can be done? One of the things that come to my mind is Industry India and Industry Institute interactions can lead to better knowledge dissemination, potentially even better knowledge certifications, and keeping abreast with the technologies. We always had our interactions based around research and based around students being taken up by the industry. But I think it's a time for taking it one generation forward. The second aspect that I talked about was with reference to finance and business models. Industry is probably the best. However, the business models themselves are changing. A lot of management institutes, whether it's IIMs or even IITs, have actually brought about newer models, newer techniques into the management and looking at things in a different perspective. Again, these are all very valuable things for the industry, and a closer interaction between Indian academics and Indian industry will only benefit both at large. So I think I'll stop at this and probably come back again on other questions.
Thank you, Professor Moona. I think what you're saying is that you are building an ecosystem around entrepreneurship for the students with the help of industry by bringing them in and being very futuristic in your approach to the way the students are, or maybe say the kind of things to come and how would they materialize into the world in the industry would actually be focused by your students. Very interesting, sir. Let me go to Professor Rajakumar. Sir, would you like to present?
Yeah. So good afternoon once again. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Right. We talk about academia, industry, collaboration. We talk about interaction, particularly in the context of education and specifically in engineering education. Why do we do so? Engineers in general are problem solvers. The engineering is about problem solving with the help of basic sciences and with an analytical background. And most of the real world problems are multidisciplinary in nature. And unless an engineer has a holistic knowledge, or a planner or a designer has some holistic knowledge about the various disciplines that are involved in solving a problem, the problem won't be solved in an effective manner and the solution may not be a right solution. Therefore, we need multidisciplinary education, and a student needs to be trained in solving real-world problems. Now, how to do it? Certainly in a university or in a typical institution, we can, through experienced teachers who have knowledge of both the worlds, teach these subjects and provide that knowledge to the students. And the other way is to send a student to an industry, and then the student does some internship and try to understand the practice the way it happens in a typical industry. So this is possible this way. And when we say that there should be more and more of industry academy of collaboration, either the teachers do not have that, teachers of an institution do not have that connect with the industry, or not so much knowledgeable about the real world problems which an industry faces. And therefore this problem comes up. When there is no internship and then the students, there is no scope for the student to go to an industry and learn about it, also this problem certainly comes up. This can be solved in a number of ways. In institutions like IITs, many of us have been consultants to industries. We, in our lifetime, must have solved several problems of the industry. And then we are experienced about the problems being faced by the industry. In fact, industry looks forward for their problems to be solved by teachers of engineering institutions. When such such teachers who have solved industry-related problems do certainly carry these industry experiences as examples in our teaching, and we also mention these as case studies, and the students immediately learn about the practice in industry. I repeat that this is important from understanding a problem holistically and solving a problem. So that's what is needed for a student. A student needs to connect the expertise gain, knowledge gain, and problem-solving capability gained from different subjects and connect it in solving a real-world problem. That's where the need comes from. And this can be solved, certainly, and it can be catered by teachers who are knowledgeable about industry problems. And certainly the teachers who go to the extent of even guiding an industry can certainly do a wonderful job, even in an educational institution, citing such cases. So in institutions where we have some lack of knowledge on the front of the teacher related to the industry problems, so this may not be happening in a justified extent through the classroom teaching. So therefore, it is important that a teacher should be aware of the practices in industry, the problems being solved by the industry, and classroom teaching also can be effective. On the other hand, irrespective of whether the teachers have that idea about the practice in the industry or not, the student should be provided with an internship in industry. That is absolutely essential. A knowledge-seeking student, a student who has open mind and open eyes, would automatically learn a lot from the industry, whether it is a short-term internship or long-term internship. Therefore, there is a need for a rise in the meaningful internship in the curricula of the different institutions. There too, a learner need not always participate holistically, but then a learner should be reminded of the objective of the internship, and then internship should be made effective so that a learner goes there and learns a lot even within a short internship. Here again, there is a responsibility of the not only the institutions in the form of making the internship as a part of the curricular structure, but also industry should come forward as a part of their investment towards building competent human resources, which in turn would help the industry subsequently. So such a long-term vision for the industry is absolutely essential. They should not take it as some kind of distraction in their day-to-day activity. and they take it up and then provide as many internship opportunities as possible to budding young engineers. This is absolutely essential, and this is a more, I would say, productive CSR component than providing some monetary support to an education institution or creating a chair in an education institution. Therefore, this is absolutely essential. And the learners too should be raring to go to an industry and see the practice going on there. This apart, the educational institutions should take or be encouraged to bring some of the industry leaders and make them speak about the kind of R&D happening there, the kind of management practices that happen there, and the economics of the products that are involved there to the extent which can be disclosed to the students. So these things would give an opportunity for the students also to learn about how business happens, how an industry works, and what is involved in the entrepreneurship and what an entrepreneurship would be doing in life. And this is yet another very important thing. So across the whole institutions and across the country, today we're supporting and encouraging the students to take to entrepreneurship. The very fundamental thing which is needed before we make a student take up entrepreneurship, understand what the business is, what production is, what the project management is, what an entrepreneur does and what an entrepreneurship is, and what kind of financial support is available for starting up an industry. When we make a student understand these aspects, either through the case studies or from the mouths of the horses, about what made them take to entrepreneurship, etc., I think the main objective of driving them holistically and strongly toward entrepreneurship won't be solved. Therefore, this kind of exercise is very important. Many institutions do, and in places like IIT Bhubaneswar, having realized this kind of importance, we try to inspire the youngsters with real-world stories, including both success stories and failures. Failures are important too, and that is important, and that would also give an idea about an industry to a student. So this apart, the laboratory practice is typically an industry practice broken down into small problems. So sometimes it can be in the form of a practical way of making a student holistically understand a piece of concept or a theoretical concept. We also put it in the laboratory practice. So therefore, in the form of when we talk about industry academia connect, I would put it this way, that something should happen in-house in every institution about what is the industry practices. Something should happen in the industry through internship for students to go there and do it. And therein, so we need to have the CSR component of the industries to work. That apart, when industries find an institution competent enough to solve their problems, naturally, industry would come forward for the help of the teachers to solve their problems. And automatically, that interaction takes place. Unfortunately, not many institutions in the country or maybe across the globe are in that position, in which case certainly some hand-holding from industry with the pure interest of academia-industry collaboration should take place, and academia also should go to an industry and try to take the hand and solve some problem for the industry, and in the process gain access to the industry. Lastly, making the industry leaders come and give some lectures, either as a part of the curricular structure or even beyond that is absolutely essential, and educational institutions should go forward and invite the industry leaders and different the industry uh, personnel working in different directions to come and deliver talks to students. And through this kind of means, we can certainly improve the industry academia relationship and make use of it for the benefit of teaching learning. That apart, we can also invite some industry partners to come and do some mentoring for the budding entrepreneurs who enroll themselves as a startup in an educational institution. These are some of the thoughts I thought I will share with
Thank you,
you.
Professor Rajakumar. I think you have raised some very, very pertinent issues. One is that the problems nowadays are complex and multidisciplinary, or as we say, they are transdisciplinary, which requires thinking from various streams, including humanities, liberal arts, and design. So that's something which I would also like to talk about at a later date, but I think that's a very, very pertinent point. You also talked about offering consulting to the industry and solving their problems, which the institutions are involved in. And you raised the long-standing problem of internships, where the industry is perhaps not able to rise up to the standards which we are expecting, or in numbers or in quality. So these are a few issues which we'll be discussing, and we would also discuss further, the two-way relationship. I think we are talking about our expectation from the industry, but is there some way in which we can institutional mechanism can be put in place to have an industry participate within universities' work? So that's something we'll discuss. May I now go to Professor Lalit Awasthi? Professor Awasthi, would you like to say your opinions?
Good noon and greetings from NIT Jalandhar as well as NIT Hamirpur. Honorable Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's both honor and privilege to address all of you from this gratifying stage through online mode. On behalf of my institutions, it gives me great pleasure to be thankful to the distinguished organizer who invited me to this World Education Summit on Industry-Academia Bridge. To synthesize and channelize the collaborative model for industry-academia interaction will be a fruitful exercise and is really the demand of the time. It is beautifully said by Honorable late Shri Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam ji that the beauty of collaboration among industries and institutes is that we combine strength with wisdom, which is an excellent way to accomplish more for the glory of God. Yes, it's the linkage I'm talking about harmony, structure, and all the various things which will make this world more smart, practical, and accessible. In fact, there is always an intrinsic linkage between industrial strength and institutional wisdom. Although we are on this path since long, still it is a high time for institutions to build such a more powerful linkage. The main points on which I would like to highlight or emphasize is that the institutions need to take steps to align the curriculum with the industry requirements, and then there can be workplace exposure through internship, live projects, and corporate interactions. Then we can explore the upskilling of the faculty, as most of the faculty in institutions, they are not exposed to the industry environment. To understand organizations' perspective on recruitment trends of recent times, and then aligning the institutional output, maybe introducing new courses, maybe on artificial intelligence, machine learning, things like that. Then guidelines for entrepreneurship, to have a good startup ecosystem, to have, as we have done in NIT Jalandhar, we have one technology business incubation center, we have a space technology business incubation center, which are open not only to our students, but the people from industry and outside, exploring ventures for industry and academia tie-up, and emphasis on multidisciplinary environment and skill-based education. So these are some of the areas. One more area which we can look into is that at institutions, we are having the best brains in terms of faculty members. So we can have centers of excellence in different areas, and we can guide the industries in those areas. We can give them inputs, and we can also have some good testing facilities, and where we can offer the consultancy. Moreover, we can have that the industry people, they can be invited onto the campus. Maybe they come and interact. Maybe they come for placement. Maybe again at NIT Jalandhar, we have introduced the concept of 1, 2, or 3 credit courses from industry experts, wherein the industry expert can come to the campus maybe for a couple of days, delivering 8 to 10 lectures, which earns a credit to the student by giving them exposure. And also, we have started with our own alumni to build up open problems who are working in the industry. NIT Jalandhar has produced more than 100 entrepreneurs or startups, and we are tying up with them so that they can give us what are the industry-ready problems and how the students can be involved. Also, we have in Ludhiana, Jalandhar area, we have contacted the industries for the entrepreneurship or for some industry exposure to the student, maybe short visits or maybe internships. So our current chairman of Board of Governors, he is an industrialist in Ludhiana, and he has been giving a boost by introducing the institute to many industries, and whereby the students can be exposed to the industries, and they can come up. Also, the faculty as well as the invited experts of industry, they are working as mentors for the startups which are taking up from the Technology Business Incubation Center at NIT Jalandhar. We have almost more than 15 startups on campus, and in Space Technology Business Incubation Center also there are another 15-20 projects which have been taken by faculty as well as students of NIT Jalandhar. So this kind of ecosystem can be more vibrant if basically the course curriculum, if we can align it to the latest requirements, so that we have the Board of Studies meeting, we have the Senate deliberations, and we are looking at how they can be inculcated and how the people from the industry, they can be invited to the institution. There have been a couple of questions as well. I think these questions can be taken later also, but some of them I'll just briefly touch. 94% of engineering graduates are not fit for hiring. So probably I think the skill-based training has to be emphasized, and whether it is in the institution, whether it is from the industry, but it is the skill gap actually which is rendering the engineers not fit for the job. Second is, can NEP 2020 bring revolutionary change in higher education? I strongly believe it can do, and it can do wonders, and it has been envisioned very nicely, and there have been so many, everything has been touched in, including the multidisciplinary education system. Then there is a question on assessment in online mode. We can have a guided assessment also online. That is not a problem. And can merger of universities be done? I think if we look at the new education policy, it gives that we should have the multidisciplinary large universities centered in maybe every district. So that points out towards that. With this word, I once again thank the organizer for giving me opportunity. Thank you. Jai
Thank
Hind,
you.
Jai
Thank you,
Bharat.
Professor Awasthi. I think it was very interesting to see you talk about credit courses being taken by the industry and also thought of involving them in curriculum development and in board of studies, etc. Let's go to Professor Chaturvedi. I think you are vice president to a group of universities, so I think your experience in private university space would be extensive. So let's hear from you, Chaturvedi
Right.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure listening to Professor Rajakumar, Professor Rajat, and Professor Lalit Awasthi. I represent the AISECT group of universities. We run and manage 5 campuses in MP, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, and Jharkhand. And all of them are situated in semi-urban and rural parts of the states. There are, 3 guiding themes for all our universities. The first one is all of them are skill-based or skill development-led universities. The second is entrepreneurship and incubation being one of the main themes. And the third one is focus on research. And these are the 3 common themes for all the campuses. So coming to industry, academia, collaboration, this is not a new topic. We have been talking about it. I have heard about this when I was a student myself at NIT Bhopal, and even today we see that it has not really percolated down to all the academic institutions in its right earnest. And this would become a success only when industry, academia, collaboration, and culture becomes the way to go ahead beyond the IITs and the top tier 1 institutions of the country. So I would, give basically 2 segments. One is, according to me, what are the challenges for this to not become a success uniformly? And second, then what are some of the pilots which we have tried and which I think can be done at the state level? So the first one, the challenge is that many times this entire initiative does not find ownership at the top level, either at the institution or at the company. So if we, leave this at the training and placement office or even at the industry academia cell, if there is one in the institutions, then it's most likely to reach only the MOU stage, but the results will not come out. So unless it is, driven right at the vice-chancellor stage in the universities and at least the vice president or director level stage at the industry, it does not find traction. And so most of the times I have seen the MOUs actually fizzling out because of this thing. Second is, this is also a time consuming and a patient process. Many times, we are eager to see the result just in 6 months or even 1 year time. But I have seen successful industry academia collaborations showing even minute results only after a long period of back and forth, iteration, deliberation, fixing of common key result areas, and then driving it persistently. And for that, a team of faculty or a team of researchers have to be incentivized properly, and their schedule and time has to be managed in such a manner that they can devote time in terms of driving this as their first KRA, and they have to be freed from the other teaching learning workload. So unless we devote time consistently to this, it doesn't succeed. And third is, sometimes we take on very big goals right at the beginning, which is fine, which is the usual approach. But sometimes for industry academia to succeed, we might have to start small and take small steps, so that even the practice of faculty going to the industry and industry lecturers and industry people coming to university for lectures, even if we are able to manage that consistently, it's a big win. It's a big win. So starting small is also one of the key which has to be taken. So these are the 3 points which I wanted to touch upon. In terms of a few pilots which we are doing and which I think can be scaled up. One which Professor Lalit Kumar also touched upon is the case study or the collection of the problem or the open innovation challenge from through which the university directly goes out and collects the relevant problems to be solved, and then that becomes a competition inside, and we work closely with the industry in solving the relevant problems. So from our side, we have taken the MSME sector as the focused sector, because in the states we operate in, there are a lot of MSMEs. MSMEs also are the drivers of economic activity in our country. So we find that taking these smaller partnerships with MSMEs industry cluster which are around our universities is the way to go in terms of achievable results. The other thing is corporate connect through incubation center is another way to strengthen industry academia collaboration. So we run the Atal Incubation Center in the Rabindranath Tagore University in Bhopal, which is Central India's first Atal Incubation Center. We have 34 startups. 5 of them have graduated in the last 2 years. So we see that a lot of corporate sector clients are looking for these young minds, tech-based solutions, which they know that it will take a long time for them to derive. So a corporate connect series with startups of the institution helping the industry is another way which we have tried is successful, and that can be one vehicle or tool to strengthen the industry academia collaboration. The third one is the entire scope of Bachelor of Vocational courses, BVOC programs, through which again we can target the MSME and some of the large industry players also for delivering the work integrated training and the Bachelor of Vocational programs for the employees of that industry, and through that the university gains in getting their hands on the updated curriculum and devising new industry-led courses, and industry also gains by the training and the relevant qualification and certification of their apprentices or employees. So to my mind, Bachelor of Vocational program and related to this, the upskilling of industry employees on either Industry 4.0 or future skills is another vehicle through which this can be driven. The other area, one more thing I think which we have done is that we have ourselves pooled in a good amount to formulate a core research group which has taken up 5 key areas, and we have started funding research projects wherever the faculty is able to get the industry buy-in. So through this, we are now inculcating the practice of industry-led research projects, and we hope that once we have invested in getting these relationships done, and if the results are good, for the next round of funding and projects, the industry would be willing to invest as far as the results are in their favor. The last thing I would like to say is another tool for the private sector, again to attract industry academia collaboration, is investing in high quality labs. So again, we are investing in Industry 4.0 and industry automation labs, and we know for a fact that the SME and MSME sector in the manufacturing domain are all looking to upgrade themselves, but their employees don't have the up-to-date industrial systems for training. So many industrial training programs can be also offered by academic institutions to strengthen the industry academia collaboration. So I'll stop here. These, to my mind, are some of the pilots which have shown success and can be replicated. And I thought I should be sharing these today in relevance to the topic.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. I think that's a very wide spectrum you have put across from the vocational involvement of industries to actually doing a corporate connect for all your kind of universities you have there. I think this is what has also emerged, that we one, involvement of industries is essential to all kind of institutions. We look for industry towards industry for internships. We look towards them for giving inputs into our programs, to come to us for consulting, for problems which we can take up at a faculty level or at a student level. So all of this is important, and we must have a two-way system. And as the title says, that a collaborative channel, if we can establish, which require both receiving and giving kind of relationship. So we also, if I take a few minutes to tell you about the World University of Design, I think for the past 50 years, in India, major industries were just doing manufacturing and trying to become suppliers of, whatever was being manufactured in the world. It's only in the past 2 decades that we have realized that the actual value is in design and in coming up with a new product. So design is what adds value and give you much more higher returns. So we are at this stage where intervention of design is being felt across all industry segments, from IT to manufacturing to health and care or services or construction or whatever. Everybody is expecting or trying to see how design can be involved, design thinking can be involved to add value to whatever they are doing. Particularly considering the fact that the next decade is going to be very turbulent. Nobody really knows how things are going to work out. That's where the design and the problem-solving thinking skills of designers is being employed. So this is, for us, industry interaction, therefore, at World University Design is really very important right from the word go. So we have made institutional mechanisms to make industry people members of all board of studies, so at all schools. So they, because I think at the time of curriculum development, it is important to have their inputs as to where the industry is going, because right now they are also in touch with real market situations as to what is happening right now. So they are there. Besides that, we also have throughout the year people coming in from various sectors of the society and talking to students at various levels. We have a institutional mechanism by which they can bring in their problems. And if we can involve that problem into, because in every semester of ours, there is a project work where they try to collect all their learnings and make a project. And if that project can become a real life situation, then we welcome it. So we try to get all industry partners to become a real life problem, so they come with their brief and they also supervise, or they also, along with the faculty, are overlooking the project and seeing how the students participate. Besides, another mechanism in this is that during these studios, as we call them, they can become co-faculty. So whenever the project may be hypothetical or they may be doing, but whatever they are doing, they come at the right time and tell them that from the industry point of view, from the market point of view, what should be things. So this gives all our students a real lifelike situation while being there into the institutions. And of course, we have mechanisms for internships. What we have also done is that in the final year, the project, which the students usually do in the final semester, we have made it almost mandatory that as many as possible, unless it's a research project, they should do their problem or their project with an industry partner, so that the problem and everything else is as close to reality as possible. And the industry also gets an opportunity to have people working on any kind of a futuristic map which they may have as to, or they want to try out, or they want to experiment with, and they do it with the students available. So that kind of gives them a fair, quick way of coming up with solutions, coming up with products, and doing that. So we have a more or less a very collaborative, to and fro going on with the industry. So having said that, I'm sure all of you, we have some kind of institutionalized mechanisms, or we may aspire to be doing that. Looking at the time, can we just have 1 to 2 minutes each and talk about what mechanisms can be put in place, or what you have in place? We start with Professor Moona.
Sorry, I had been on mute. So,
Yes.
So I think the bridge between academics and industry is a bridge which is a artificial bridge. It can be very quickly set up, and people can actually start collaborating very rapidly. All collaborations, in my opinion, are actually built upon somebody's weakness being supplemented by somebody's strength. As I see, academic strength is knowledge of the newer technologies, understanding of the newer scientific principles. But if you actually ask an academic to create a product and give it to industry so that they can manufacture, the answer is a wrong and absolutely a wrong collaboration. Academic strength is to create people who are skill-oriented, students who graduate, and they are ready for the industry. Okay, but in absence of problem not being known, what exact needs are available are not being known, the chances of this manpower developed being unsuited for the industry is very, very high. And in fact, one of the questions that says 94% of the engineering graduates are not fit for hiring is a clear manifestation of that. So, what is the answer? Is the answer saying that academic institutes will actually ask industry to do a training? That's a wrong solution. Industry strength is not, and I want to repeat this, it is not in training of students. That is the strength of academics. Industry's strength is to actually take an idea, convert it into a product. Okay, if that is not there, then we actually are looking at wrong collaborator. So, taking an idea, converting it to a product, taking a product, and manufacturing it and giving it to the hands of people, I think these are the strengths of the industry. There are two separate kinds of industry, R&D industry or this thing. And I think bridge has to be made by putting proper jigsaw puzzles together. And that is what my message is. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Professor Rajakumar, would you like to respond?
You have asked about the institutionalized mechanisms
Yes.
for fostering the industry-related problems, discussion of the industry-related problems, and design thinking amongst the students. Absolutely, it is essential for the design thinking and the ability to innovate to be inculcated amongst our students. What we try to do at IIT Bhubaneswar is we give a lot of importance to this. So senior faculty, including the director, address our faculty and we encourage them to give design problems to the students and discuss about design cases in the classes, and also design and innovation be given importance in the laboratory curriculum, and the laboratory experiments, particularly the senior laboratory experiments, are supposed to be made on the design related problems. and by which actually a student can be trained on design thinking and also thinking about fostering research and also fostering innovation as a culture amongst the students. This apart, so we encourage our faculty to take up sponsored research projects and insert industrial consultancy projects of high relevance from across the whole country and even outside, and our hinterland in particular. So we encourage our faculty members to take up such problems, institutional mechanisms, and also the thrust areas defined by the institution are so defined such that these are given a lot of importance. Because of that, there is a serious rise in the faculty research project, the problems taken by faculty on industry-related problems and of societal relevance. So that is one which will make our faculty within a short time understand the problems by themselves. And as the problem solvers, naturally, they will take the cases to the classroom, they will take the cases to the thesis work. So therefore, it will ultimately, it is the learning that's going to be affected and teaching that's going to be seriously benefited.
Thank you.
And that apart, the institutional administration also work with industry and then invite the industry to deliver talks, etc. And so that happens in a seamless way. So these are the mechanisms, some of the mechanisms which we adopted IIT Bhubaneswar for fostering these what you have mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Awasthi.
Yeah, the industry academia bridge is there. It exists. But the only thing is that we are producing where the graduates are coming and they're going to the industry. Making it both ways and things like that, it has to be now that at NIT Jalandhar we have taken initiative that we should be able to produce more output in terms of patents and technologies. And there we have found out collaboration for 4 or 5 technologies which have been dealt in the last 1 year to be given to the industry. On the second side, if you see, the industry, they want their problem be solved in academia. The only thing comes that the timeline. They are very particular in timeline. And as our professors, they will take that problem, but they can solve it, but probably they may not be able to meet that deadline of the industry. So that is the only thing where I find. Otherwise, they are quite capable faculty members. They can deliver, and we can have more collaboration. People can come seamlessly here and there. But the problem is of the timeline. If we can meet that, probably we can have more interactions. The open problems can be solved in the industry. Student can be involved. Many things can happen. But it is only that we should be able to have a focused approach how this bridge can work.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Chaturvedi, you have already defined your bridges, but anything else you want to add?
I would just like to add that being a young institution and in the private sector, focusing on a niche is very important. We cannot aspire to suddenly start doing the industry academia collaborations in all the domains of engineering or management and so on. So for our focus, renewable energy and agriculture are the 2 centers of excellence which we have built, which also go with the state's priority and focus sectors in our state. So going the niche route is one very important aspect. And second, which I've already said, focusing on MSME and the industry clusters around the campuses is another institutional mechanism which we are following. And the last one, investing in our incubation center and promoting the incubation center as a solution provider to the corporate sector around the campus and even outside the state. That is another institutional mechanism which I find will be up for a lot of taking because of the way technology is changing and the technology is disrupting most of the industry. So these startup-led solutions will be required by many industries in the coming days. So these are the three mechanisms which I wanted to bring about.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. It was, I think, a very, very interesting discussion today. Importantly, I think what we see is that there were 5 kind of institutions, and there are 5 different, the way they interact with industries are very different depending on their, perhaps, the kind of institutions they are, the geographical locations, and perhaps the institutional culture which is being developed. I think even the 2 IITs are so different in their approaches. So I think it all, to our audience, I think they would have given them a huge spectrum of ideas and approaches, and would have told them about, I think they need to define themselves, who their are, who their target industries are, and how best to interact with them and form bridges. So with that, I thank all the speakers on behalf of the organizers. It was
Thank
a
you,
wonderful
sir.
session.
Thank you, Sanjay sir, for this wonderful moderation, and I thanks all my esteemed panelists for giving your precious time to World Education Summit. And there are many more questions that are coming from audience side. I will mail you directly all your questions, and if you revert, we will get back to you, all the audience. So I request Deepak, can you share the speaker certificate to? So this is a small token of appreciation from the World Education side. The speaker certificate is presented to Professor Rajat, Moona, Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Bhilai. Thank you, Rajat sir. Thank you for joining World Education. Professor R.V. Kumar, Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar. Thank you, Raja sir. Thank you for joining World Education Summit. Professor Lalit Kumar, Awasthi, Director, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar, and NIT Hamirpur. Thank you, Lalit sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to our moderator, Professor Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Vice-Chancellor, World University of Design, Sonipat. Thank you, Sanjay sir, for giving your precious time to World Education. And Mr. Siddhart Chaturvedi, Executive Vice President, AISECT Group of Universities from Bhopal. Thank you, Siddhart sir. Thank you for giving your precious time to World Education.
That's a nice touch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I request all my audience, you can follow all the speakers on their social handle as well. They are very much active on the social handle. If you have any question, you can directly put your question to their handles as well. And otherwise, you can put at education@digitallearning.in. We will get back to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for giving your time. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elets,
Thank
for
you.
this opportunity.
So, the break, and after that, we will connect to our next panelist. Thank you, Deepak. I request you to please put on the AV.